And as I mentioned, the time machine is a feature in .cms. If you go look on the .cms backend, and under the site browser tab, you'll see there's this time machine. Go ahead and select the time machine. And you'll see that you can select past or future, and you'll see that if you click on this right now, there's nothing to select. And that's because we have not set up a snapshot, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. All right. If you select future, you'll see that it now allows you to select a date, sometime in the future that you can select to see what your website is going to look like in the future. So in order to give us something to look at here, I'm going to do a couple things. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the settings. All right. So way over here on the right, you've got your settings, and I'm going to select my settings. Now, in the settings for the time machine, what you're doing is you're setting up a schedule to create snapshots. So when you use the time machine to look at a past version of your site, you're going to be looking at an actual version of your site, the actual HTML that was displayed on the front end of your site at a particular point in time. Because what you do is you set up snapshots, and at particular intervals that you define, .cms will go through and create an exact replica of your site, which is called a snapshot. And .cms is going to go, it's going to evaluate your code, your pages, your links, and it's going to create all of that and bundle up all the HTML that you actually rendered for your site at that time into a snapshot. And it's going to save that snapshot, and once you have a snapshot, you can go ahead and browse that snapshot and look and see what that looked like at a particular point in time. Now the snapshots, just as a note, the snapshots are also available for other purposes that you may want to use them for. We have some customers that are extremely security conscious that actually take the snapshots, and that's actually what they display on their front-end production site, because they don't want any possibility that someone could somehow get into the .cms backend from their front-end site. So they take that HTML snapshot, they bundle that up, and they just ship that to their production server and just show that as it is. We have some other customers that use the snapshots for legal purposes. For customers that have legal requirements to maintain certain information, or that may have some internal company requirements for maintaining what the site looked like for regulatory purposes, you can take those snapshots, you can save them, and you can be very confident that you have an exact copy of what your site looked like at a particular point in time for regulatory or legal purposes. All right. All we're going to do in this example is we're going to build a snapshot so that you can see what it looks like as a content contributor or as a site developer to see what your site looks like. So the first thing you do is select the sites you want to do snapshots for. You can only set up one setting for your time machine snapshots. So if you have multiple sites, you're going to have to select all of them and add them in here. And if you have multiple sites, you'll be able to select them here and add them. But you might, for example, have an internal site where you don't want to do a snapshot, and that's okay, and you don't have to add that to your time machine snapshots. There's a simple checkbox to add all your sites. This is particularly useful if, for example, you are serving multiple customers from a single .cms instance. We have one customer which serves over 1,500 sites from a single .cms instance, and they don't have to add each site here. They can just include all sites and do a snapshots of all of them at once. You can select the languages. So if you've got multilingual sites configured, you can choose that you're going to snapshot some but not others, for example. And you can make incremental versus full snapshots. If you do an incremental, then that means it's only going to snapshot the things that have changed since the last time you did a snapshot. And then you're going to give it a cron expression. And if you're not familiar with cron syntax, you can look this up. But we give you several examples here, so you can just copy and paste. One of the most common ways that our customers do it is once a day. But this is going to depend on how frequently your content updates and what your intentions are for looking back at the snapshots. You may not want to do it more than once a week, particularly if you want to save disk space. The snapshots don't take a huge amount of space, but if you are doing them frequently, that space does build up. We have some other customers that do it once an hour, and you can set that up here. But I'm going to do it for once a day, and I'm going to do save and run now. So what this will do is make sure that I'm continually running a snapshot every day, and it's also going to run it right away. Okay. So now while the time machine snapshot is running, I'm going to go back to my content here, and I want something to look at in the future. So I know what my site looks like right now. Okay. This is my current site. It's showing me a single movie. All right. I'm going to go back. Let's do it from here. I'm going to go to my content tab, and I'm now going to add a movie that is not showing, and I'm going to publish it in the future. So I'm going to go back to my movies content type, and I'm going to add a new movie. All right. We'll select Meet Joe Black. All right. I'm not going to go too wild here on the genres. All right. Okay, now I'm going to set the publish date to tomorrow. And I don't really care about the timing of it. I'm going to do it tomorrow sometime. And I'm not going to worry about the poster because I haven't worried about displaying that just yet. So I'm going to leave that as it is, and I'm going to save and publish. All right, so I added the piece of content. That's going to publish tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Now, even though this piece of content publishes, that's not going to help me because I'm not displaying it on a page yet. So I'm going to go back to my page. I'm going to go to the site browser, and I'm going to bring up my index page. And I'm now going to add, and I'm going to reuse content. I will select my content type and search. And I'm now going to select Meet Joe Black. Okay, so plain and simple. Again, if I look at the preview, you'll see it shows it to me. If I look at the live, it doesn't show it to me. All right, so now that I've added that piece of content to my page, I'm going to publish the page. Okay, it's telling me I've got dependencies that also need to be published. So what this is telling me is that I have content which I'm displaying on my page which has not yet been published. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and publish all related assets. All right, so that's my page. Now, even though it said it was going to publish those related assets, they're still not going to display on my page, and that's because I set up my content type with the publish date. So .cms knows that I don't really want to publish those pieces of content. Okay, so it's not showing for me here. Well, what does that look like when I go look in the time machine? So I'm going to go look at the future now, and I'm going to look at Wednesday. And I'll look at the English version. And so .cms is now showing me what my site is going to look like on Wednesday. So if I go now to my training and I go to JMT, it's showing me that by Wednesday this is going to be published and it's going to display on my page. So I'm looking at a future version of the page. Now let me go look at the past. And I still don't have a snapshot. Maybe I didn't set that up right. Let's see. All right, English. I got my cron expression. Oh, it's still running in the background. Oh, I may need to just refresh my page here. See if it's there yet. Okay, so now I've got a snapshot. So if I look at my past snapshot now, and I select my language, now it's going to show me what the site looked like when that snapshot was taken. All right. And we can look at this again tomorrow or Wednesday as we go through and change this page more. You'll see that this snapshot is always going to show this version of the site as it was taken at the time the snapshot was taken. All right.